Welcome back, Steeler Nation, to the Northern Steel Podcast, episode 87, named after that famous Steeler great. Right, Derek? Name him.
Lynn Swan.
No.
Good old Lynn, the politician, Lynn Swan.
I'll give you a good 87. Kevin Radar. Who knows?
Antoine Randall, 82.
No. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Northern Steel Podcast. Again, with me is Derek Fletcher. Give it up for Derek. He is not a Steeler fan. Do not be mad at him for not knowing who number 87 is. I don't think we've had a lot of good 87s. So I said Kevin Radar. That might not even be right. And I will not fact check myself because this is not my job. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But we're coming off a quick another win. Russ is 4-0, a victory over the Baltimore Ravens. Huge game we talked about. They found a way to pull it off in the craziest ways. We'll kind of dive in on some of the finer details on that, have some notes about it. But like always, we're going to do the highlights for you. So if you missed the game because you're too busy eating crab legs on the pier of Maryland and Baltimore, or maybe watching a bridge collapse there, who knows? Was that too soon? Probably not.
Ooh.
Here is the highlights just for you. Week 11, Steelers, Ravens, and everyone has been talking about how scary Derrick Henry is. Steelers must not have gotten that memo, though, because Nick Herbig strips Henry for the first fumble in 538 carries. That's back in 2022, if you want to keep the math. Steelers' voodoo magic against the Ravens already going strong, but they are unable to get the ball in the end zone, hopefully not a theme today, and have to settle for a Boz field goal. Steelers go up 3-0. So the last drive of the Ravens was cut short, but they have the number one offense in the NFL in the league. So it's going to be hard to keep them in check throughout the game. And right on cue, Lamar finds Isaiah Likely for a big gain down the sideline. Then Lamar, or Lamar RB as we like to call him around here, keeps it himself for another big gain. They're just driving and cruising along. Surely the Baltimore Ravens score on this drive, right? Wrong. Justin Tucker misses a kick, and the Steelers had the ball back just in time for this Ravens sack on Russell Wilson. Russ is kind of looking like, let's ride Russ, and I'm already annoyed. Call it high expectations, call it spoiled, or call it and turn this off. Russ gets sacked again on 3rd and 20 after he scrambles the field, looks around, nobody can get open, and actually slides right here for a negative 1 yard gain, which is what we call in the world a sack. Ravens ball, and Lamar throws it past to Zay Flowers, who catches it, and I won't say that sentence again in these highlights, but what I will say is that Justin Tucker missed another field goal. Uh-oh, somebody's washed.
Very washed. A clean game for the Steelers so far, as a steel curtain of offensive linemen helped Najee Harris leap ahead for a huge gain for the Steelers, which will bring Russell Wilson out of the gun for a 3rd and 4. He's ready. He's going to throw and is sacked again. Nice. Which leads to Baza dang diggy. This guy hits a 52-yard strike. The best kicker in football, shows how AFC North kickers get the job done.
Ravens ball, and they need some kind of points, and they start right here with a laser to Rashad Bateman over the middle. Then Derrick Henry finally gets loose for a big gain, but Minkah Fitzpatrick saves the touchdown by playing well at safety, you dumb yinzers. He's doing good this year. However, what he actually stopped was unfortunately the inevitable, as later Derrick Henry still scores a touchdown, and the Ravens had their first lead of the game. I thought this game might be in the 20s or the 30s, but it's a 6-7 classic Steelers-Ravens game. Ravens get the ball back with 30 seconds, and they decide to try and run someplace to see if they can score again, but Patrick Queen says, "Why didn't you pay me?" And he uses his personal vendetta strength to rip the ball out of Likely's arms and recover it himself in the most FU move I've seen from one player to another team. But that brings out, of course, the MVP Boswell, because they can't score, and it makes this thing 9-7 before the half. And you know what? Coming out of the half, let's show another Boswell field goal, because why not? Can drive, but can't score touchdowns, but Boz can put it through for a 12-7 lead now. And you know what? Can't keep Justin Tucker down forever. Even he can make the field goal. Got to give it to the Wash kickers. They can still put it through sometimes. That's a 12-10 score. Steelers on top.
From wash kickers to wash quarterbacks, Russell Wilson is Pickens up first downs as he throws a bucket into a bucket to George Pickens, and they are going to kick another field goal. Unbossable as Boswell hits the field goal, and they go up. But Russ gets another chance as he throws a pistol missile down the field to Washington, and they get inside the red zone. Well, let's bring the yellow towels out, and let's bring out Najee Harris. Wow, this guy is looking good, and they are inside the 10-yard line. We're going to get some points here, Dom. Let's get some scoring. Russell Wilson out of the gun, does a little two-step with the defender, rolls out. It feels like Super Bowl 55 as Washington watches this ball go right to the other defender. It wasn't a pick like it was in the Super Bowl. I'm blaming the tight end for this one. Come on, make some effort on the ball.
And you know what? Who needs Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter at all when you have Lamar Jackson, who can match his highest total of the day in one carry? Classic Lamar before you. You know what else is classic? Ravens turning it over when they need it most. Because later Lamar throws a lob to Justice Hill down the sidelines, and Peyton Wilson, of all people, shows shades of Devin Bush and picks the ball off on the way to the ground. I don't know how he did it. And like I said, I've seen the Steelers players do this twice now to Lamar. Twice! They'll set up Boswell for his 6th field goal of the day. Thank you, Paz. Thank you. And then with about a minute left in the game, Ravens are able to drive down the field and throw a touchdown on Dante Jackson. You better watch out, Dante, because I'm on your ass. And on now they also need a 2-point conversion to tie the game. On the 2-point conversion, the Ravens run whatever this is, and they are stuffed. No 2 points, no tie game. Steelers need 3 first downs to close this game out. And they decide to have some game packages with Justin Fields. And after a slide by Justin Fields, just a yard short, they bring him in again to confuse the defense, and they hands it off to Najee to conclude the victory. That will end this so-called rivalry thus far, with the Steelers winning their eighth win out of 9 games. Woo! Well, that sounds good. That's again, as you can hear, my voice is still kind of up in the air, pretty crackly, still kind of bad. So sorry about that for people listening. But the cold is getting better. I gotta say, Derek, the highlight from the highlights was pistol mistle. Love that.
Yep, just mispronounced words. Huh.
Through a piss mistle. Pistol mistle.
I did have, I was going to say it was called Heinz Field, but Wilson threw some mustard on that one.
Do you even know what the stadium's called now?
No, I did.
Yeah, you did. Acrisure. It's a bank.
Acrisure.
Yeah. It's a bank.
Wow.
Acrisure, because I'm Acronaut. Let's talk about the game. The Steelers, both the victory, another 2-point win against the Ravens, another classic Steelers-Ravens game. We thought it could be a high-scoring affair, and it just wasn't. Like we talked about before, it's, a lot of the people in the media, and I'll touch on that in a second, they say that Lamar can't play well against the Steelers. And his stats weren't good. But if you watch the game, I disagree with that. A lot of those things weren't his fault. But, they put Derrick Henry in check. Derrick Henry, I saw a stat today that when Derrick Henry plays the Steelers, he averages 62 yards a game. And against the rest of the league, he averages 103. Lamar, not even over 200 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. There's 2 fumbles on the play. I mean, the thing is I don't know what it is, but the Steelers just had the Ravens number, and everything was just going right for the Steelers that day. There was a lot of times where offensively, because the Steelers couldn't score offensively, we talked about that. They had 6 field goals, could have been 7, obviously, but there's a lot of games this year where I've kind of liked, even though it doesn't help anything, I'd like to point out the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. If they would have done this and if they would have done that, they could have scored more points. I mean, shoulda, coulda, wouldas, they would have scored all touchdowns in those red zones. They would have scored 40 points, obviously. Duh, Dominic, dumb math. But it's like, this is the first game where the shoulda, coulda, wouldas in my head are outweighed by the shoulda, coulda, wouldas for the Ravens. because they had so many things also just not go their way. I mean, like I said, Derrick Henry fumbling in 500 snaps, his last fumble was in 2022, is insane. Of course, that comes to the Steelers because Ravens just collapse on themselves. Isaiah Likely fumbling before half to give the Steelers the lead. Lamar Jackson throwing that pick to Peyton Wilson, which wasn't his fault. It went in the running back's arms. Peyton Wilson had his arm in there and grabbed it out. I said it was shades of Devin Bush because I don't know if you know this, Derek. I'll try to find it while you keep your notes too. But Devin Bush, his rookie year, did the exact same thing to Lamar. That kind of play has happened twice for them, which is crazy. So it's like, I'm glad they got the win. It keeps their division hopes alive to win the division. It keeps actually the Chiefs lost, so it keeps they're in the front driver's seat right now. They control their destiny to get the number one seed. That's all staying alive. However, they have a lot of problems to fix. I'll talk about those in a little bit. And what I'm happy to hear is that Tomlin also agrees there are problems to fix. So that's good to know.
Look, it's a divisional football game. It's AFC North football. Yeah, you didn't do all the things you want to do, but you ended up winning. I mean, if you look at the year, they're 8-2. You can say whatever you want, but they are winning games. So would you rather them do everything right, but somehow lose the game? I mean, they're playing great. They still are playing great. I think they had 1 turnover and the Ravens had 3. They only gave the ball to Derrick Henry 13 times. I think that would have changed things, but the Steelers had way more carries than the Ravens did, and their time of possession. They had 13 more minutes than the Ravens, so they didn't turn over the ball, and they had the ball more. So
they didn't turn it over once in the end zone, which I think you also alluded to as well, that it wasn't the greatest move for Russ. I kind of understand it because they just kept still not scoring touchdowns when it mattered. So he was like, let me throw up a prayer. I agree, Darnell Washington could have jumped, but I think it's also fair to say he shouldn't have thrown that ball. Real quick, though, so you saw the Peyton Wilson pick. You saw it in the highlights where he ripped it out of his hands. This is, I believe, Devin Bush's rookie year. So this is 2019. Lamar Jackson. This a rookie linebacker, Peyton Wilson, rookie linebacker, same thing. He throws it to Mark Andrews, and Devin Bush is trying to corral it, and he picks it off on the way down to the ground.
That's
same
tough.
thing, same exact thing. So the reason why I bring that up too, I brought up a little bit earlier, is a lot of people in the media this. So usually, sometimes after Steeler games, I like dive in on all the media talk because I like to build into the hype too, hype myself up. But, and I'm happy for the win. Don't get me wrong. It's just an ugly game. So I just wasn't watching media as much because I'm like, I'm glad they got the win, but they can play better. They need to play better. So I'm not going to hype up myself on that product. Defensively, they're great, but offensively, I'm not going to hype myself up. But a lot of people in the media are like, man, Lamar Jackson, he's just so bad against the Steelers. That's his kryptonite. And yeah, his stats aren't good compared to the teams because he's been on an MVP run. His numbers are way down. But the turnovers and those things aren't his fault. Derrick Henry fumbling wasn't his fault. That pick's borderline not his fault. The other player fumbling is not his fault. He had one play. He escaped probably like 6 sacks, Derrick. And in one play where he escaped a sack, ran around for like a long time back there, found Zay Flowers open, threw it to him, and it bounced off his face mask and dropped to the ground. I mean, it's just kind of what happens in the Steelers play. Justin Tucker missing 2 field goals, and they just collapsed on themselves when they play the Steelers, which I'm happy about, but that's just kind of how it goes.
Got to give some credit to the Steelers, though. I mean, they still beat a tough football team. I mean, they still held them, even if they did make those 2 field goals. I mean, it's still a 1-score game. But you did bring up some things. They pretty much matched up evenly, like yards and yards with each team. But then you realize one team, the Steelers, had the ball for 13 more minutes. That's a little alarming. They just weren't getting things moving. And even Russell Wilson's kind of throwing up a prayer to the end zone. I just wish there would have been some effort there.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, shouldn't have thrown it, but like, Russ is here to score touchdowns. Aren't we here to score touchdowns? Like, look alive. Like, even if he jumped up and like batted it and then it got picked, then it's like, okay, he threw a way too high of a pass. If anything, like, I think they kick another field goal there if there was a little effort there. But no, we're going to go away with like, Russ threw a pick there. Oh my gosh, the sky's falling. And it's like, no, the sky's not falling. However, there are some things to be worried about.
Well, and then one more thing I want to point out to you as well before we move on from this is, yes, let's give the flowers where it's due, is that the Steelers defense was able to hold the number one offense in the league to minimum points. And they held their yards in check, held the points in check. That's great. And that's really encouraging from the defense who didn't play as well in against the Commanders, right? That's really encouraging against a top offense. So the red zone.
Oh.
Okay. So the red zone, there was a specific one. I think it's this one. Okay, watch this. So this happened a lot in the red zone when they got down there. So there's going to be a stat I have about Russ. It's going to make it seem like Russ's fault. But Arthur Smith called a really bad game, and his play concepts in the red zone are just terrible. They really are. And so they got to improve this. Here's a stat for you real quick, Derek. I don't know if you know. The Steelers are 30th in the red zone efficiency this year. That is not good. And if they want to win in January and February, they got to improve on that right now, which is why I said I was glad to hear that Tomlin did say they want to improve on it. So usually sometimes he's like, hey, we're winning games. We're good to go. No, they got to improve on it. And I'm glad that he said that. But look at this play right here. And I'll show you the screenshot. This is just one example of a red zone play. This happened a lot. There's 3 receivers all in the exact same area in the end zone. This is very Matt Canada-like. I mean, what are you supposed to do about this?
And one of those receivers is number 14.
Yeah, so why are you scheming him up that way?
Dumb. I mean, this is this team's Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill. Like, you scheme to like kind of disguise him to get him in the end zone and get him some looks, or just have him out there as a decoy. But yeah, this looks horrible.
Yeah, and a lot of the plays were that way for the in the red zone. It's a lot of a bunch plays, and even outside the red zone, there was they talked about a lot of like 3 players doing curl routes 10 yards down the field, which is classic Matt Canada stuff too. And I think Arthur Smith just had a really bad game, really bad concept plays, and they were really trying to go for deeper pass plays because of the Ravens' pass defense being so bad. But their pass rush was good and getting home so easily that they needed to adjust to do some shorter pass plays, and they couldn't figure it out. So what I'm about to bring up is that we've talked about this before. I think they need to find a way, and they talked about this week too, because Justin Fields played 3 or 4 snaps this past game. They need to find a way to get Justin Fields in there because his legs are such a weapon, especially if they get to the red zone. Russ has had a lot of great touchdowns from outside of the red zone because he's clearly talented enough to drive them down the field. But when they get down here, maybe they need to think about switching it up. And here's why I'm saying that, because here's a stat for you right here. This comes from Alan Saunders. Both Justin Fields and Russell Wilson have led 11 drives inside the opponent's 10-yard line. Wilson has 4 touchdowns and 5 field goals. Fields has 8 touchdowns and 1 field goal. So Fields is just more efficient inside the 10. That's just
facts.
It's just facts. And the thing is, that's not a knock on Russ. It's because Fields, his legs are just such a weapon. I mean, he confused the Ravens defense at the end there to ice the game, which is funny because the Ravens defense goes against Lamar Jackson every day in practice. But he confused them as soon as they brought a guy who could run the ball. So I would like to see some more packages with Justin Fields, get him on the field if they get down there. And I feel like they have the type of camaraderie and the mindset that they're not going to be pissed about it. Like, I feel like, and I could be wrong, that if Russell Wilson drives him down the field and they swap him out and Justin Fields gets in there and he scores a touchdown, everyone's happy. I feel like Russ would be happy.
Couldn't agree more. And that doesn't mean you have to take Russell Wilson out. Let's make Fields a gadget guy as well. Like let's try so many things. Like
Yep.
that's what everyone's doing now. Not the total end of the world when you get back to like boring football, where Wilson is starting to complete passes now. Like his percentage is going up. He's now at 60, like a 60% completion percentage on the season. I think if we just keep that momentum going, like as you said, as like drives go, like he's not 14 for 28 now. This game he was 23 for 36. And then if you put like the Warren and Harris kind of two-headed monster together, that's 25 carries for 100 yards. So like keeping everything in perspective, like we're fine. However, are you going for 10-7? Are you trying to make the playoffs? Or now that you're 8-2, you're the 3 seed, Kansas City's coming up. Like we got to be looking.
You should always be trying to improve until the season's done. Then you can rest.
Especially this team. This team does not have a great playoff history. Like
not recently.
Their playoffs is, I think, when they go play Kansas City. I mean, they can't overlook some other teams coming up, but
that'd be a good test.
They got to do something different though, because Buffalo scores points. Buffalo scores points not by field goals.
Yeah. And so do the Ravens, but that's a different thing because it's divisional, right? So I agree with you there completely. And because it's the day before the game, let's move on to the next segment. So we'll try to get this done a little faster. Also, I'm sure no one likes to hear the way my voice sounds right now. That's the way it goes. So this is now the keys to the game, sponsored by Snickers. It's not. I wish it was. The Steelers are playing the Browns Thursday night in Cleveland. The Browns are 2-8. I couldn't be happier. I hate this team. I hate their fan base, and I hate the city of Cleveland. But they still have a game to play, and they still got to beat the Browns. And here's some keys to do it. I think Nick Chubb, he's been kind of struggling since coming back from that terrible injury. And I'm glad Nick Chubb's back. He's like the only Brown player I like to see. He still has all my respect. So you still got to shut Nick Chubb down. You can't let him run all over you. When he does run all over you, you lose the games. So find a way to shut Nick Chubb down. The second one would be got to get turnovers off of Jameis. Jameis, he's a gunslinger. He throws the ball. He had 400 yards last week against the Saints, and they scored 2 touchdowns. He didn't even have any turnovers either. He's going to throw the ball all over the field. He's going to get his. He's going to take his shots. He really will. Get the turnovers because he's not that good. So get the turnovers when you can. Put it in your favor. And then for the Steelers, I guess like the easy ones would say, keep the run game intact because they're the defense and the Browns or whatever, or not have a turnover. But I would say a bigger key to the game is more like, this is going to sound bad because I feel like I'm looking past the Browns and I'm not. I want to beat them. I really do. I don't want to lose this game because we were saying trap game and I don't believe that. But you have to get better. So key to the game is like, let's focus on red zone this week. Let's really focus on that and try to have like an 80% red zone, a 75%, just something better. You got to focus on red zone. Red zone's got to be higher. Got to score touchdowns, put them away as quick as you can and get out of there.
You kind of brought up my point, which was literally just don't overlook the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
This is like from playing Washington and from playing the Ravens, like this is kind of a get right game. Like Russell Wilson better be 250 to 300, 2 touchdowns. Let's not throw any dumb picks. Let's not fumble the ball. Let's not do anything silly. Naj, let's let him get his. Let's get everyone involved again, but just don't overlook them. They have the recipe right now where they control the time of possession and they control turnovers, which is like Tomlin football. And they're doing all the things right now where Russell Wilson's now starting to complete higher percentage of passes. Warren, Harris running the ball well. Just keep doing those things. But yeah, don't overlook bad teams, especially teams in your division. Oh my God.
Yeah, use this as a springboard to get better. Not to like pass them, but like destroy them. try score as much as you can. Should do those things to give yourself confidence. Like, okay, we can score because Cleveland still has players to be a good defense. They're just not for some reason. They're just not a good team for some reason. So
the Saints were the most dead team in football, and they just demolished them.
Yeah, they ran a bajillion yards all over them. Taysom Hill ran a 1,000 yards, I think, by himself.
Derek Carr threw it to Marquez Valdez-Scantling a ton of times. Like, but that goes to show you that, everyone can get got. So it'll be like, we're 8-2, we're doing everything right. Oh, we're in the 3 seed. We just have to beat Kansas City. It's like, nah, okay. Like, you guys have not been scoring points.
Well, right. And that's the thing too, is like, even if you don't even think about like the 1 seed, right? If you want to think about the division win, I have said this before, just doing the quick math on it. I think the Steelers can afford to lose 2 games, and the Browns is not one of them. I think they can afford to lose next week against the Bengals, next week against the Bengals. I think they can afford to lose that game, and they can afford to lose the Eagles game, I'll say, because I think they should beat the Chiefs to help with the AFC stuff. But you can afford to lose one of them. They can afford to lose the Eagles. They can lose the Bengals once. You got to win the rest to win the division, I think, in my opinion. Maybe that gets you 1 seed. Probably not, though. So let's look at the like we do every week, the depth chart real quick. Like I said, you got Jameis Winston. He's a gunslinger. You got Nick Chubb, who I respect, I love. I wish he wasn't a Brown, but hey, it is what it is. Jerry Jeudy,
they're one weapon.
Yeah. Well, Cedric Tillman, who he's doing all right. Elijah Moore, don't care. David Njoku is pretty decent tight end, but he's a pretty good tight end, but he's questionable. Left tackle Jedrick Willis Jr., who the fans do not like, but he might be out. So it might be Jermaine Ifedi in his first start. Joel Bitonio at left guard, who's questionable. He's very good, but don't know if he's going to play. Center Ethan Pochik, don't care. Wyatt Teller at right guard is pretty good, and Jack Conklin at right tackle is pretty good. On the defense, you of course got Myles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, and Isaiah McGuire on the outside there. That is a huge red flag on that side of the field. Run away from Myles Garrett, because I don't know who that guy is, but he's not good enough. Especially behind him, Winston Reed, don't care about that. Jordan Hicks, Vikings legend down there, forgot about that. And Devin Bush, Steelers legend, who I just showed you his highlight, who sucked after a while for the Steelers, but his rookie year was good. You also got Denzel Ward, who got hurt last week, so I'm not even sure if he's going to play in this game. I hope he doesn't, because he's been having a phenomenal year, even though the Browns defense has been bad. Grant Delpit, who's been pretty solid for them. Juan Thornhill, who the Browns fans like to call Jog Thornhill because he doesn't run or show any effort. Martin Emerson Jr., who's on hate watch. Didn't like him out of the draft, and I Pickens picks on him all the time. And Greg Newsome, who the fans don't like. So there's opportunity there to hopefully score on this team.
This is I feel like this is a boring week of podcast / Steelers football, because you're like, okay. But this is like the type of game that you can lose. Just don't overlook them.
No, I agree. I would say the most encouraging thing is that I really don't think the team is overlooking them, because I think the team, at least the way they talk in interviews, sounds like they are not satisfied with how they just played, right? That's what I like to hear. As fans, if fans will overlook them, that's fine, right? But like, my thing is like the team, and I've seen Tomlin before be like, well, we're 8-2 now, so we're pretty sick. We're like the best team in the league. And it's like, no, you have things to work on. You have a lot of things to work on. But in this press conference, he said that. He's like, red zone sucks ass. We need to work on that. And then they asked him, are you on a short week against a division rival? Are you going to have a basic game plan? And he's like, no, we're going to press the envelope. Whether that's true or not, that's what he said. So you got to try to improve every time.
Who's the tried and true person on the Steelers offense? He's always there.
Mm-mm. What do you mean?
Who would you say?
Naj, probably.
Naj, I would say George Pickens. So my point is, Pickens he's always getting his, right? He's always having 80 to 100 yards. Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Mike Williams, Freiermuth, like you have guys that they need to be fed. They're good. Yeah. Like we need to start really distributing the ball around. It's been 4 games. And this is a perfect game, just a get right game, just to, get everyone involved.
And get open, they got to scheme them open. Or they just got to find some better scheming, find some better plays. They got to work on their offensive play calling.
And you have George Pickens, so these people have to be getting open.
Right, exactly. Because he is getting covered, but he's still getting like 90 yards a game. He just moved up to, he was 3rd before the Monday night game, but he's 4th in the league in receiving yards, which is kind of crazy. Haven't seen a Steeler player up there since AB. So.
And he only has 2 touchdowns, though. This guy is way better than that.
He only has 2 touchdowns. I think he's had 2, or if not more, taken away by penalty, which happens to George a lot. So, yes, you're right. But that is quite frequent of something that happens to George. Let's do our picks. My voice is gone. I want to go to bed. You guys don't listen to this anymore. You want to watch the game. I get it. Let's do our picks. Let's get out here. So we got Steelers at Browns, the game we've been talking about the entire time.
Steelers, please win.
Yeah, I'm going to go Steelers, F Browns all day, all week, all year. Titans at Texans.
Chalk me up for who fucking cares? I guess the Texans are still good. They've just been playing like ass. Texans.
Yeah, it's mostly been CJ Stroud because he's one of the top sacked quarterbacks in the league. Their line's not been playing great, but I'm going to go with Texans on that as well. Vikings at Bears.
Dear God, if the Vikings lose, they've played like ass against the Jaguars. They've played like ass against the Titans. They're going to probably play like ass, but hopefully win.
So I'm picking the Vikings, and this is not, this is my thoughts on it. I think Chicago's a tough place to play, and they should have won last week. You know, the blocked field goals was borderline illegal because they're lined up all over the center, which you can't do. So it's just a tough place to play. I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, if the Vikings lost, but I hope they win. I am going to choose the Vikings. Cowboys at Commanders.
The Cowboys are done, right? Or do we have to talk about this?
No.
Let's move on.
The only thing I want to talk about is being as you're a North Dakota boy, is if Trey Lance ever gets to play. Right now he's not, but if he gets to play, we'll talk about it.
Sweet. It kind of scares me whether there's just like Cooper Rush. He's so good. He's our guy. And it's like, I've seen him before. This tells me like Trey Lance just isn't NFL caliber or something. I don't know. Poor guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably true. I just would rather watch him play because I've also, like you said, I've already seen Cooper Rush. Season's cooked. It's over. I also play Trey.
Yeah.
What do you got to lose? Then you got Patriots at Dolphins.
I keep choosing against the Patriots and it keeps just biting me in the ass, but I think the Dolphins are ready to get back in the playoff hunt.
I think so too. I'm going Dolphins. They're kind of like on a tear. And like next week for Thanksgiving, there's a game that I was like, oh, that game's going to suck. But if the Dolphins keep playing and keep improving in the kind of way they are, it could be a fun one next week. Then you got Chiefs at Panthers.
Ooh, 9-2. Just kidding.
I wish.
Just kidding. Sorry, Panthers fans, but yeah, Chiefs.
I mean, I'd take it, but yeah, Chiefs. Bucks at Giants against Danny DeVito. Daniel Jones is now benched, so pretty sweet.
They could just like swap in Tommy DeVito and Danny Dimes and just say we're going with Danny DeVito.
I did say Danny DeVito, didn't I?
You did. You said Danny DeVito, and I'm like, so
I'd rather watch that.
That would be funny, just going there blasting.
Yeah, that'd be better. Yeah, Tommy DeVito now starting. Daniel Jones. I saw two. I saw like the Panthers were like, oh, they're gonna target Daniel Jones. I saw a stupid Steelers article. They were like, Daniel Jones is gonna be a Steeler next year, and I was like, Daniel Jones just needs to be a NFL, I think. So, look out for Thanksgiving next week. Tommy DeVito and Cooper Rush.
Ooh,
sweet game.
Hey, I'm going Bucks. Like,
yeah, me too.
Let's get it right again, Baker. Hopefully.
Yeah, me too. Then you got Lions at Colts. Sorry, Colts.
Come on, man. We're gonna keep rolling here, man.
Yeah. The Lions are insane. They're insane.
Love you guys, man.
And I know people don't listen to the podcast this long, especially right now with my voice sounding like this. But I've seen a lot of Steeler fans say, this is a Super Bowl America wants, and Steelers and Lions. I do not want that. Because everyone in America will root for the Lions. I don't want that.
Yeah.
The Steelers will be the villain of that story. And I do not want that. Broncos at Raiders.
Broncos country, let's ride. Bo Nix is a quarterback.
Yeah, he's playing pretty well lately. It really is. And as much as I kind of hate watching the Broncos and I hate their fans and I also want them to lose, they're playing well and they're not going to lose the Raiders. So you got Cardinals at Seahawks.
This is another game. Like it was the Niners Seahawks last week, and we both got that wrong, I think.
Yeah.
Screw it. I'll go Cardinals, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna get this one wrong too. I'm picking Seahawks because I'm sure Cardinals will win.
Well, at least we'll be right one way or the other. Yeah,
for sure.
Sweet.
You got Niners at Packers.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, the Niners are having a down year, but I mean that, like you said, that Bears game, was it really one? I'm still going to go with the Packers. Yeah, Jordan Love is having his sophomore slump, but
yeah, that though is that's more like kind of what we talk about the Steelers and Ravens. That's divisional stuff. I don't know if you can really count that. Right. It's like you can't really count that for outside divisional play from there. I'm gonna go Packers as well though, which makes me a little nervous because you just feel like the Niners should be better, and they're just not. They're 5-5, but I'm gonna go Packers. You got Eagles at Rams.
This is a game the Rams have to win, but logic tells me to choose the Eagles, so I'm going to stick with logic.
Yeah, me too. But I think Rams winning would be cool though.
Rams can fuck around.
They could. And then you got Ravens at Chargers. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh.
Oh man.
First rematch since Super Bowl, whatever that was.
You know what? This is going to be like a mini freak out for the Ravens this year. I'm going to go Chargers.
Okay. I would love that. I'd be ecstatic. I think I'm going to go Ravens.
I've just chose too many games that are just like, oh, that makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense. That doesn't happen every week. And
no,
I think
but then sometimes you're like, wow, why did I do that? It makes sense. And John Harbaugh, I don't know. Jim, I'm not saying Jim's a bad coach because he's doing great with the Chargers this year. He did good in San Fran when he was there. Just John's been around longer. I don't like John Harbaugh as a coach. I think he's kind of a baby, but he gets the group together. They just lost. They need a win. I think he gets it done. So, yeah, great. That'll be the end of this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Vimeo, and LeagueOfLegends.com. Derek, do you have any other last final words for the people?
Just don't lose to the fucking Browns.
Please. Please. Thank you. Good night. See you next week. Peace.
Peace.